Yeah.
Do you know what an 8 to 5 does? Young people here call it slavery.
Yeah.
An 8 to 5 teaches you discipline.
Mm-hmm.
It teaches you how to adult. It teaches you how to be responsible and accountable. We don't have that anymore nowadays. I think we need to make sure that we raise our kids in the real world. Tell them the truth from a younger age. Don't sugarcoat. Say you want to do law and you're still in uni. Come to me. I'll get you a very good lawyer who's going to be your mentor. And that person is going to be accountable for you. And they teach you ways of how to live life. Discipline, as simple as how to talk to people.
Hello, guys, and welcome to another episode of the Just to Kick It is a Blessing podcast. Thank you for coming back to the podcast where it's all about time, where we teach, inspire, motivate, and entertain through the art of storytelling. Today, I have a special guest in studio with me, and a little bit about her before she introduces herself. I think we met around COVID times, and ever since we met, we were able to have a friendship, and recently she launched something that was of so much interest to me, and I said I have to have her on the channel so she can share a little bit about herself and the project and to see how it appeals to you as the audience. So without further ado, I will let her introduce herself.
Thank you, Tupac. Hi, my name is Nimo Farah. I like what you said. The podcast is about teaching, inspiring, and motivating.
Yes.
We have similar interests in
Yes.
that. I'm Nimo again. Met Paco in 2020 as well.
I think around December.
Yes, it was around December 2020. It's been 4 years.
Yeah.
It's a long time.
Time has
And
flown.
we've had a very good friendship. You've been one of those people who has a good head on his shoulder. And we've always had intellectual conversations every time we meet. And thank you for bringing me on to your podcast.
Well, thank you so much for gracing the podcast. It's generally amazing to have you here, and I know we're about to have an amazing conversation ahead of us. But yeah, tell us a little bit before we get into the conversation. Tell us a little bit about what you do.
So I run a foundation.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure you're aware. It's called Hikma Foundation.
Yeah.
The foundation is solely based on education in
Yes.
the arid, semi-arid areas. However, for you to achieve that in the arid, semi-arid areas, you have to tackle other aspects like food, energy, water, sustainability. So we do all that in the arid, semi-arid areas. So we try and help those young kids who are out of school, who can't be in school. And for us to achieve them getting education, we need to help them have the basic needs of life: food, water, again, sustainability. And the foundation so far has been running for about 2.5 years.
Okay.
I'm the Chief Operations Officer, and it's growing big
Yes.
so far. And I keep introducing programs into it,
Yeah.
different programs, apart from the one that we're doing in the sites of refugee camps,
Yes.
Kakuma and Dadaab sites. Now I'm trying to implement a few things here in Nairobi so that we can impact more youth.
Okay. Wow, that's interesting that you've talked about the foundation. And what do you think is, other than the education aspect, why do you think education is so important to those people?
I think if you have the knowledge that you need in this world, you're able to survive through it.
Yes.
And in this world today,
Yeah.
I think 1 degree is not even enough to get a job.
Yeah.
You have to have a master's. You have to be competing with so many other people. And that's the life, that's the world that we're in. Now, I feel bad for those unprivileged ones. The less privileged don't have the opportunity. And apart from getting jobs and stuff like that, education is very important for them to survive, to live, to know what they're doing, how to survive. They need to learn. And they need to teach the next generations as well. So if, let's say, somebody in Dadaab, the father has never been to school, the child has never been to school, the grandchild is not going to school because it's a culture that they've had throughout. And they will not get out of that poverty if they do not learn how to do it. So I think education is very important.
You've introduced culture into the conversation. Are you finding it difficult to break those cultures?
It is very difficult, especially with my people, I'd
Yes.
say, because charity begins at home.
Yes.
And my foundation, I do try and help a lot the people from back at home. I'm from Garissa.
Yes.
So people from Northeastern, Dadaab, it's very difficult to try and break that culture where they don't believe in education, especially for the girls, because
Yes.
I'm on that women empowerment. And for the girls, it's very difficult for them to go to school. They focus on the boys,
Yes.
like the men. And the girls, it's very difficult for them to go to school. And if you try and tell the father, take your daughter to school, it's not going through.
Yes.
They will never understand why. They think it's a westernized world that we're trying to introduce to them.
Yeah.
And they want to stay backwards and traditional. So unless you try and break it down to them in a manner that it's going to be very beneficial to them and their children and their grandchildren, it's been a very difficult task to try and get education to be absorbed in those areas.
And how do you think you're dealing with that challenge, or how's the best way,
For now,
Yes.
we are trying to educate them on basic needs
Yes.
rather than go to school and learn English, math, science, biology.
Yeah.
That they're not going to go for sure.
Yeah.
But we're trying to teach them certain, like now I started a program for only girls.
Yes.
And the stigma about girls getting their period
Yes.
in those arid, semi-arid areas.
Yes.
So now we're trying to start a program where we're going to train them on how to make their own dignity kits.
Yes.
That is also education. And once they do make their own dignity kits, then they won't have that stigma where they end up missing school 1 week the whole month every now and then because the aibu, or it's a stigma. And the program is starting off now, and I think it's going to go well because a lot of the parents are okay with us teaching them certain kind of things. We are starting another program on greening. So agriculture, that area is semi-arid, yeah. And they do need food.
Yeah.
And we're trying to train them on how to plant crops and specific crops and fruits that can grow very well in those areas. So like lime, avocado, mango, and stuff like that. They could consume them and they could also sell them and make money out of it. So we're trying to introduce those kind of programs as education rather than telling them you have to learn biology and science. And that is working out well so far.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Wow, that's interesting because, when you mentioned to me that you've started a program to teach people out there, I thought math, science, English, biology.
That's what everyone thinks.
And now you've brought in a different aspect. And how did you think of that aspect and say that these people do not need math, English, and biology per se, but they need other different kind of skills that will give them a fair chance to play life in this world?
Yeah, well, opening schools, building schools has not worked.
Yes.
There's structures that are empty.
Wow.
In Dadaab and Kakuma. We build schools. The members of parliament there do those kind of things. They build schools and then try and get teachers, and the kids are not going to school. It's not working for them. Firstly, there's this whole thing where they do not want education because Muslims rather learn the Quran and the Deen.
Yes.
So they do a lot of madrasa and stuff like that, which is another program that we're doing currently. We're trying to integrate Duksi Madrasa into the school curriculum.
Yes.
So for those who are going to school, we're trying to introduce the Duksi and Madrasa so they can learn the Quran. That's the only way the parents will be okay with it. Wow. We could not get them to go to schools. And I thought, if we're not going to teach them science, then what can we teach them that's going to be beneficial to them? Because these people are less privileged.
Yeah.
These are people who don't have food, who don't have clean water and stuff like that. So education for them is not a priority. Going to school to learn science is not a priority. So I thought, how can I capture them and teach them something that's going to be beneficial to them? That's when we started thinking of those aspects of food and stuff like that.
Okay, yeah. So you've also brought in the fact that you've seen, or what you've seen from the region is there's these empty structures being built with no one to fill them. And how do you address that as a political issue? Because I also see a lot of failed projects because we're running to do something that we think benefits someone instead of what really benefits them,
That's a good question, Tupac. Honestly, it's a very difficult thing to try and work with the government
Yes.
or the member of parliaments, because there's a lot of NGOs that have tried to do that and made money out of it
Yeah.
and ended up eating that money and not doing anything for the people. So if you go to a member of parliament or any government officials and try and tell them, I'm trying to do A, B, C, D, they're not going to take you serious.
Yeah.
So we tried. For us, it's actually working well because we work with NACONEC, the National Council of Nomadic Education in Kenya, and they have been very helpful trying to get us achieve a lot in those areas. Let me ask you, Tupac,
Yeah.
where are you from?
Basically, I'm from Meru. That's my dad's side, and my mom's side is Naivasha. But honestly, I've only been to Meru like twice in my whole life.
Okay.
I've barely been there.
So you're one of the privileged.
I'm a Nairobi boy.
You are a Nairobi boy.
Yes.
You're one of the privileged because in Meru and Nakuru, you have the structures, you have the system, you
Yeah.
have everything there. But if you go to a place like Kakuma and Dadaab,
Yeah.
you will actually be heartbroken if you see the things that people are going through there.
Yeah.
You see kids who are starving, malnourished. You know, I think that was my pivotal moment when I went down there because I'm also a Nairobi babe.
Yeah.
I haven't been to Garissa in like 10 years, but I went recently last year.
Yeah.
And I went down just so I can see for myself because I can't be helping people and I don't even know what situation they're in. So I took a few trips down to the refugee camps, to Dadaab and the likes. And I'm not going to lie to you, it put me in tears seeing what people are going through there. They're really struggling. And I always used to say, if I was a billionaire, nobody's going to be hungry. If I'm a billionaire, nobody's going to sleep hungry. And my dad used to tell me, I like your ambition, but it doesn't work like that.
Yeah.
Because now I know a lot of billionaires from my area
Yeah.
who honestly, I'm not going to say I'm not doing anything for them, but there's no impact.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of people who are starving. They live, do you know the makuti?
Yeah.
They're made of just like sticks,
Yeah.
and then they put a cloth on top of it. That's where they sleep.
Oh.
They're kids who are struggling. I went to an orphanage. It was so sad. There's a kid as young as 4 years old who's an orphan, and they have no food, no water. So if you're introducing education to this kind of people, it's very difficult. I'm not going to bash the government.
Yeah.
I'm sure they've tried their best to do what they can, but there's no impact. Like there's no results.
Yeah.
No one is getting what they're trying to do. So those structures that are empty, even I can't try and help fill them.
Yeah.
That is a route that people took and it's not worked. So why repeat the same thing? It's insanity.
Yes.
That's why we're going with this different approach. And keep in mind, when we're training these people, we're actually also giving them some money, food. We're doing the whole shebang where come, we teach you, feed you, house you, and help you.
Yeah.
So we're starting with small batches. I'm focused mainly on the youth. That's the future.
Yeah.
We're doing in small batches, and hopefully in the future, if we're successful, we will scale it up.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'd like to ask you, like you said, fortunately and by God's grace, a lot of the people that watch this podcast of mine are in places that they can make change no matter how small it is. So to someone listening to this conversation or to watching this conversation, what would your piece of advice be? Because you've gone and seen, maybe a lot of us, like you've said, have not gone out there to see and to realize that maybe that 1,000, 2,000 bob we could spare could go a long way in changing one person's life.
Yes, very true, 100%. I'd say for those who are privileged, don't take it for granted, one. Two, I would advise people to try and make a difference in at least even one person's life. Let me give you an example. If you go to Kibera today
Yes.
and take one child and decide to take them to school,
Yes.
it's not going to cost you much.
Yeah.
It is not going to cost you a lot. A lot of us make a lot of money. We have so much money. And we just keep chasing more money and more money and more money. But what are you doing for the society and the people around you? If you take one child and take them to school, school fees in those areas are very cheap. It's not much. I think a semester would cost like, 5,000, 10,000? And that's someone you're taking to school, a young boy. this boy is going to have a future because of that little change you spared. Look at it that way. You can impact at least one person if you're in the position to, if you're capable of, try and change people's lives in your hood. Charity starts at home.
Yeah.
So I'd advise people to go back home where all of us have shags.
Yes.
Go back to your shags, pick one less privileged child.
Yes.
In my religion, it talks a lot about orphans.
Yes.
Islam says helping an orphan is like helping the world. So I'd advise to pick an orphan, take them to school if you have the money, and make sure you follow up through it. Make sure you also, it's not just education. Make sure you're also mentoring them in ways of how to be better people in the society, how to move, how to talk, how to behave, how to relate to the people around you. All these kids need to be nurtured. They need guidance. That's one thing I learned when I first came. That's why I started my youth empowerment program.
Yes.
It's part of the foundation as well. I started that program mainly because I realized there's no guidance for the young people in this country.
I think even before we get into your program and we talk about the program, I think I also like what you've said is I think sometimes we people think that giving should be monetary, but there's a lot more giving that you can do.
Yes.
And I think one of the things my dad keeps on telling me is the greatest thing you could also give someone is your time.
Yes.
Because you see, money you could make back, but your time, you can't make that back.
I agree.
I agree. So like what you said is there's so many opportunities and structures within places that, someone can go and give time and, and does your program offer or does your foundation offer some of those things? Have you thought about maybe taking people to actually see these things that they are not used to seeing, and how could such things happen so people are more, in touch?
I've had a lot of people reach out to me because they want to volunteer. Like, oh, you're doing a good job and would like to volunteer.
Yeah.
I have taken a few people,
Yes.
but I can't take much because firstly, the costs are on me. This
Yes.
is a charity
Yes.
thing that I'm doing.
Yeah.
And if I'm taking someone to come and volunteer, I'll need you to offer something to these children.
Yes.
A lot of people want clout.
Yeah.
So let me come volunteer because of clout. Let me take some pictures and videos with these young kids or whatever. The world has become just all about clout and social media.
Mm-hmm.
And then you don't know whose intentions are right
Yes.
for these kids.
Yeah.
But I am still trying to get around that volunteering bit where they can come down and give just their time even if they don't have anything else to offer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think how when I look at it is, I think we need to also maybe they exist, it's just maybe people like me were unaware of those things. It's like now those structured things that, you can follow up and take a child to school and, follow up on his performance or their performance and 1, 2, 3, 4. But it's amazing to see what you're doing.
Thank you.
And when you look at it, because like you said, you probably grew up in Nairobi like all of us, but then
Born and raised.
yes, there's that one thing that triggered you, or there's these certain events that these pivotal moments that influenced this decision that you've made, and the person that's seated here today. What do you think are those?
Let me tell you something funny.
Yeah.
Before I went into Humanitarian,
Yes.
I was a salesperson
Oh wow.
and I was really good at it.
Yes.
I was selling millions of dollars worth of property in Dubai.
Yes.
I used to live in Dubai. And then COVID happened.
Yes.
So then I moved back in 2020 March.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to lie to you, I was happy to be back home.
Yeah.
But what I saw was, I wouldn't say depressing, but was sad.
Mm-hmm.
I was seeing young folks
Yeah.
with degrees from prestigious schools
Mm-hmm.
abroad. I mean, you're able to afford $45,000 university, came back with a degree and doing absolutely nothing
Yes.
with their life. There's a lot of people who would die for that opportunity. And these young folks are absolutely doing nothing with their lives. I'm not blaming them for it.
Yeah.
I did my research and I realized they have no guidance.
Yeah.
I mean, go to high school, go to uni, And then what next? So for them, it's I've finished my degree. I'm going to sit and wait for the job to come to me.
Yeah.
They are not going to knock on doors. They're not going to think of business ideas. They're not going to think of anything innovative to move forward. And the more time went on, second year, third year, fourth year, still stagnant.
Yeah.
The fork has not moved completely. And I tried to understand why, because these are very smart people. They're literate. They have the resources. They come from good families, but are not doing absolutely anything. So I realized they don't know their purpose, or each one of them is still struggling to find their purpose. So I figured because it really bothered me, I'm not going to lie.
Yes.
So I figured if it's bothering me, do something about it.
Yes.
That's when I decided to start the Youth Empowerment Program. And I thought if I give them the guidelines, then at least they would know where to start. If I try and motivate them and tell them this is the way to go, then at least they'll know where to start. At the same time, there are those who are less privileged,
Yes.
who are hungry for money, education, for the future, and they're doing well with themselves. So I thought if I bring these two people, the same age group, into the same room, then maybe this one with a good degree is going to see this one and think, oh, wow, why can't I do that? So I wanted to bridge that gap, privileged, less privileged. And a lot of the times, I'm not going to lie, the less privileged are more woke than the privileged. So I wanted to bridge that gap and bring them together and then have professionals who are going to be mentors for them.
Yes.
That was the plan for the program.
You brought in an interesting part that you said. Sometimes I feel like the less privileged seem to be more woke than the more privileged. Why do you think so?
Because they don't have it. They haven't had it.
Yeah.
And all they're trying to do is get it.
Yes.
The privileged have had it, born in it,
Yes.
and take it for granted.
Okay. Do you think having
Not all of them, don't
yes,
get me
not all.
wrong.
Yeah, of course. It's not general. Whatever.
Yes, no,
it's
not.
it's just observation. What you've seen from people you've interacted with. No, I think there's that problem around, especially within the men. I don't know. We seem to be a bit more lazy or complacent or relaxed with life.
Yes.
Maybe because we have no responsibility. Why do you think, just generally, both men and women, or young people are struggling to find purpose these days?
Firstly, the spectrum of society, how it started from back then.
Okay.
There was TV was introduced.
Yes.
Then phones were introduced. And then before social media, TVs and phones were introduced.
Yes.
And there was this persona, or there's this impression that people on TV were portraying. And for those young ones who are watching, they're thinking, oh, that's the way. That's what I want. And life has gone on to the point whereby social media now is doing that.
Yeah.
All the young folks are seated thinking, I don't have to work hard anymore. I could just post a video, get 1 million views, and I'm famous. That has become success for a lot of young people now. Success has not been what it used to be before. And they now see that you can do a video on YouTube, get 1 million views, and make a lot of money out of it. So the laziness, honestly, has come from that, where you think, oh, I don't have to do an 8 to 5.
Yeah.
Do you know what an 8 to 5 does? Young people here call it slavery.
Yeah.
An 8 to 5 teaches you discipline. It teaches you how to adult. It teaches you how to be responsible and accountable. We don't have that anymore nowadays.
Yeah. In fact, I see guys asking for 9 to 4. It's like I can see times reducing, and then
It's going less and less.
I see guys are also asking for an extra day within the week to work from home or something like that.
Yes.
But I like what you said, because I think for me, my 8 to 5s were really important because they taught me responsibility. They taught me obedience, because whether I had a bad day or not, I had to report to the office.
You had to.
I didn't have a choice to at least stay home. At your Tupac is not feeling,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not in the mood. That's what they call it. I'm not in the mood. I can't go to the office. There's nothing like that. The other day I don't think guys understand what 21 leave days is.
Yeah.
Yeah? 21 leave days is tough.
It is.
Yeah?
It is. It is.
Yeah?
But yeah, I think the laziness has come from, and it's getting worse. It just keeps getting worse because I have seen kids who finished uni and said, I don't want to work. I'm not going to go to work. I'm not going to work for somebody.
Yeah.
I'm not going to do an 8 to 5. I'm not going to do slavery for what? Only 100,000 shillings?
Yeah.
It's not slavery. It's not working for somebody else or making money for somebody else. It's learning how to be responsible, learning how to be accountable, having discipline. Like you said, you have no choice. You have to go to work.
Yes.
Whether you are not in the mood or not, you have to go to work.
I think I like what you said is the thing about an 8 to 5. Yes, sometimes we might look at it as slavery, but it teaches you some life skills.
Yes.
You get? And it's the same as school. School, you never dictated what time your classes were.
Yeah.
So I don't know how we go into the world to try and, dictate some of these terms for us.
And it also, the 8 to 5 in an office also teaches you how to cohabitate with other people. It teaches you how to live and relate and work with other people. If you don't have that, you're going to come into the outside world very spoiled and collide heads with people every now and then, because you haven't learned how to cohabitate with other people.
I think I was reading somewhere the other day and they were like, the more we think we're on social media, the less social we're actually being.
100%.
And it's affecting our relationships at such, a great extent. And, I think even the other day I was having a conversation with my dad, and he was like, in one of the companies that he used to run, he was like, I think 4 people got married in that company. Yeah, it was quite a big company. And he was like, nowadays, is it because all of you want to be entrepreneurs that no one's getting married or what? I'm not understanding, these dynamics. Yeah. So, yeah, but I'd also like to bring it back is, do you think that because we've been fortunate enough, sometimes we tend not to be that hungry?
100%.
Yeah.
That's where the laziness comes from. I'll tell you something. I was fortunate enough.
Yeah.
I grew up in a polygamous family.
Yes.
And I was very fortunate enough
Yes.
into the best schools.
Yeah.
Have had the best life
Yes.
from childhood. However, my dad always used to remind us on a daily,
Yes.
my money is mine.
Yes.
It's not yours.
Yes.
Go and work for yours.
Yeah.
Go and get yours. My money is mine. It's not yours. So he instilled that fire in us from a younger childhood, from a younger time. He did instill that in us and made sure that we all. He kept saying, "I've given you the best I could. I've given you education.
Yes.
I've given you the best education. Now it's time for you to go and fend for yourself."
Yes.
And hearing that from a younger age, I knew for a fact by the time I'm finishing uni, I should not be expecting anything from my dad.
Yeah.
You get? Yes, I was privileged. Yes, I am privileged. However, where I am today, I worked for it.
Yes.
Yes, my parents brought me up very well,
Yeah.
but I worked for it. I did not sit. If I did not work for it, I'd be sat back like the other brats with a degree, not going to school, not going to work, not doing anything with my life, just trying to enjoy. You get to. I've seen people who are 30 and they're still in their parents' houses. You've seen that as well, right?
Yes.
And they're very comfortable.
Yeah.
Because the parents allowed it. The same parents allowed it. The same parents did not give them guidelines on how to move forward after uni. It is very important.
Yes. So to you, what do you think that advice is to the parents? Because like you said, it seems to be a problem that stems a lot from bringing up all the parents. So like there's some parents that watch this podcast, but they're younger parents from when I look at the statistics of the podcast. As they raise their kids, what are you telling them so we can now avoid that situation growing and more?
I'd say we go back to raising our kids the traditional way.
For real?
Yes.
And how's
This modern way is not it. My sister, we keep arguing with her all the time.
Yes.
She has a young daughter, and we call her helicopter mom.
Yes.
Because she keeps hovering around the daughter. She keeps, my aunt was saying, let them be.
Yes.
If she falls, she'll learn from it.
Yes.
You know, my brother once said, your kid, when they're infants,
Yeah.
when you have your first baby,
Yes.
and they swallow their first coin,
Yeah.
you'll panic.
Yes.
They swallow their second coin, you know what to do.
Yes.
They swallow the third one, you tell them, I'm cutting that out of your allowance. You get used to it.
Yes.
But this thing where we are hovering around kids and treating kids like eggs,
Yes.
that is where we're all going wrong. I think we should go back to the traditional way. We should make kids start earning everything from a younger age. Yes, I'm not saying don't give them.
Yes.
Give them, but let them earn it. If you give them for free, that's how they... I remember when we were young, even if I wanted a bicycle or roller skates, rollerblades, whatever I wanted,
Yeah.
my dad had to make sure that it was an incentive to something.
Okay.
So it was always get an A.
Yeah.
Get an A and I'll get you. Do you know how hard I used to work to get that A? Just because I want that roller skate.
Yes.
That's how you do it. You earn it. Then the other thing is, I think we need to expose our children to real life.
Mm-hmm.
This whole illusion that we have nowadays of the world is perfect, life is perfect, and my kid is perfect, I'm a perfect parent. Nothing is perfect.
Yes.
I think we need to make sure that we raise our kids in the real world. Tell them the truth from a younger age. Don't sugarcoat. Tell them life is hard. As you grow, it will keep getting harder
And harder.
and harder.
Yeah.
Not that, I'm always here for you. Yes, be there for them.
Yes.
But you're not going to help that child if you keep kudekeza. Yes.
Yes. Holding them softly.
Holding them softly.
No, it's interesting that you said that because the other day I was playing with one of my friend's sister, Monopoly, and she's 10 years old. And you know how she kept on going around just collecting the cash? You know, me, I'm there, I'm buying houses, you know, because me, I know the essence of the game.
Yes.
And how she's there like, yo, you have no money, you're broke. You know, I'm saying, don't worry, G. The game is just beginning. So every time she kept on landing on like my property, she'd end up giving me a lot, you know.
Yeah.
And it reached a point where unfortunately, like, you know, she teared. Then her sister came like, yo, why are you making my sister cry? And I'm like, bro, I didn't make your sister cry. I just taught her the game is the game, you know. It's like, no, you know, we usually let her win. And I was like, that's where you're doing it
you
wrong.
go wrong.
You know, yeah. And I said, yo, I ain't going to let no one win, you know. Like, I even laugh with my dad. I tell him, because I usually play with my dad golf quite often. And I tell him, Dad, I hope you're not letting me win.
Yeah.
And he's like, I don't know. I told him, Dad, God blesses me one day with kids. I'm not letting the guy win me in golf or football. And the guy has to fight for it.
Yeah.
You know.
You shouldn't. I also think back during our time, we were raised not just by our parents, but the society.
Wow.
So if I'm seen doing something wrong by my aunt and my uncle, they feel obliged to correct me or punish me, you know. Nowadays, if my sister's son talks to me badly, I can't even school them. My sister is going to be so mad. Don't talk to my boys. Don't talk to my kids like that. Only I can talk to my kids like that. And then she doesn't talk to them like that.
Yes.
She doesn't tell them, don't do this.
Yes.
She'll be like, it's okay. That's why we're going wrong with the kids. I remember back in the day, I could not talk back to my elders.
Yeah.
Up to date right now.
Yeah.
My upbringing has made me who I am today. Yeah. Up to date, whether it's a stranger or not, I can never talk back to an elder.
Yeah.
I'll just keep quiet and let them have it. The kids of nowadays, oh my God, you don't even know what to do.
Yeah.
And the parents allow it. That's the problem. And I feel like it comes from the root. And the root is that those parents were raised by the society.
Yeah.
And they're trying to raise their kids different. I'm going to do what I wasn't done for. Or I'm going to raise you better than the way I was raised. Keep in mind, the way you were raised during our time, best way.
That's true.
This new generation, the way they're being raised, I think it's very wrong.
I kind of feel...
What do you think?
I do. I feel the same way.
You have younger siblings, right?
Yeah, I do have.
Yeah, yours are pretty young, yeah?
No. We're all the same age, approximately.
Do re mi fa?
2 years, 2 years, 2 years.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, we all came out like that, man. You know, not much time. But yeah, I agree. Like, even when I look, like, I think even despite the 4 years thing, I think how me and my last born brother raised are two different ways, you know.
Very different.
Yeah,
Very
it's
different.
completely different.
How do you think that the parents of nowadays should raise their children?
No, I agree with what you're saying. And you know, like, because even me, for me, I feel like in like 3-4 years, I'm that. So I start reading a lot about this kind of things, or I start watching a lot of podcasts and whatever. And these days, there's a couple that I normally watch. I can't remember their names, but they raise their kids in such an interesting way because from like 5, 6, they've already taught their kids the value of money. Yes. So the kid is taught when you do a chore, when you do something, they put for you this, and then this one is saved, and then this one they can spend now when they go to the mall with their mom. So you're not also spending your parents' money, but you feel like you're spending your
earned
money.
it.
So you from a young age, you know, and then they also focus on teaching their kids other life skills, you know, so emotional intelligence, you know,
Yes, that's important.
you know, just things that we're not taught in school. And I think also maybe for a lot of us guys is, I think our parents felt like school was there to raise us and they gave us to school, but there's more than that.
Yeah.
You know, and again what you said is, I think for me is like, as much as you're there as a parent, you can also be a friend.
True. But
And I
don't
think-
be too friendly.
Yeah, don't be too friendly. So your child knows the boundaries. Because even me, I feel like sometimes with my parents, the boundary is, I overstep
Shaky.
it.
It's
Yeah,
shaky.
I overstep it. I'll be honest, you know. So yes, that's what I think. But like I said, these days I'm starting to believe in structure. So in structure, in the way a lot of things have, because I think when our parents were growing up, that's one thing that has helped them be where they are today. They had structure, they had certain rules. They knew when you come from school, you have to go, walk, get a bucket, come back, shower, whatever, cook. You know, all those things were there. It was maybe not written, but there was those rules that they had to follow. And I think that's why they're the amazing people that they are today.
That's true.
Yeah.
I agree with that. The structure that they had back then. And if you look at it the way you said, come home, take a bucket, go, the structure was based on responsibilities.
Yes.
They had responsibilities that they needed to do. So I think it's good to give kids responsibilities from a younger age and then hold them accountable.
Yeah.
The thing you said about these parents that you're watching, how they're raising their kids, I think it's very important to teach kids how to handle money. From a younger age, teach them how to handle money. A lot of us have not, these are things that we're not taught in school. How to budget, how to spend money, what to do with money, how to save. And I know a lot of people are struggling with things like that. So from a younger age, if you are taught on how to earn and spend, then your future is good.
Yeah. Honestly, I think like from a young age, but also another topic I think a lot of parents should now start talking to their kids about is also alcohol, drugs, and sex, because I feel like it's such a taboo to talk about.
It is a taboo.
But it's such a real, you know, situation. Like even the other day I was asking like my dad, like, that all these years, you know, you've never talked to me about like sex. Like, you know, there's certain things we know, we don't have to, you get. But like I don't think I've ever had that conversation with my parents. You know,
It's
I
a
don't know if my
taboo.
brothers have had it. You know,
It's a
so
taboo. I think in my family, you only have that conversation when you're getting married.
yeah.
Yeah, because it's zina, obviously it's haram. But I see schools nowadays that are implementing that.
Yeah.
However, a lot of the parents are not okay with it.
Yeah.
Because as they're talking about sex, they'll end up talking about gender and homosexuality.
Yes.
And these kids are too young to be exposed to that,
Yes.
honestly. But for the parents to talk to their kids, it's very important. Drugs, very important. A lot of the kids, that's the one thing that actually shook me when I moved back. It's become a norm.
Yeah.
Drinking, clubbing, drugs has become a norm for even the youngest, as young as high school.
Yeah.
Back in our time during high school, there was no drugs.
Yeah.
I think people traveled abroad to go to uni, and that's when they started being introduced to drugs and stuff like that. But right now, here where we are, there's a pandemic with the young guys. That is the main reason why they are stagnant.
Yeah.
They're not moving forward. They're not thinking of the future or education. And I feel like a lot of them are running away from something.
Yes.
And dipping their heads into drugs. It's actually a very bad pandemic right now that's going on here. You tell me. I'm sure you know more about it.
No. I see like what you said, a lot of people are running away from something. Even me once, when I was in high school, there's a lot of not high school, I mean, but like when I was in university, and I lost my friend and I went through heartbreak. Like it's okay, don't worry. I ran away from the problem by drugs, and then I realized that the drug will only stop the problem for now. Yes. Tomorrow when you wake up, the same problem is there. So unless you deal with it, the problem is going nowhere.
That's true.
And so one day I just had to wake up and say, okay, enough is enough. You have to deal with your problems. Because I also didn't like the kind of person that escapism was turning me into.
Yeah.
It really takes you away, and exactly what you said is a lot of people, for me, I feel like drugs should be recreational if you're trying to use them, at least. But I feel like a lot of people have started to use it as an escapism, and that's now the worst way to use it. You get, because now you're running away from something, so it stops becoming this thing that's for enjoying, but to escape, and then now it's enhancing those negative emotions within you, and it's bringing out sides of you that you didn't even know exist.
100%. And that's a problem that the youth have in this country, especially Nairobi. I mean, the rural areas, let's say Northeastern and the places where I come from, there's not a problem of drugs. I mean, they do chew a lot of mirror, and that is what makes them sit on their asses and do nothing, the men, the boys. But here, those potentials that I was telling you about, who have degrees from prestigious schools abroad, are all in this pandemic of where they have given themselves to drugs. And the funny thing is, and I always say this all the time, check on your friends.
Yeah.
Always ask, are you okay? Not just have fun all the time. Ask your friends if they're okay. And surround yourself with the right people. Because if you're my friend and you're doing that, I'm going to tell you right out, straight up, what you're doing is wrong. You have a problem, go see a therapist. I don't know why therapy is a taboo as well. Seeing a therapist does not mean you're sick in the head.
Yes.
Seeing a therapist just means you're going to get guidance on how to move forward. Everyone has problems. Everyone gets stressed. You lost a friend. That's inevitable.
Yeah.
You can't control it.
Yeah.
And however much it does depress you and makes you sad that you lost your friend, there's ways to cope with it. There's mechanisms on how you can cope with it, rather than throw yourself into drugs and try and run away from the problem. All the young people who are doing that, I'm not sure if their parents are talking to them about it. Some might not have parents, Some might not have good friends.
Yeah.
And I feel like they really, really need to be helped. Like, parents will probably look at it like, he's a junkie, or he needs rehab, or he needs this, and it's a taboo, and they just start banishing you for it and talking bad about it. You probably have a big problem that needs to be solved.
Yeah.
Instead of looking at it as, he is a bad person, it's what he is going through is making him do what he's doing. Go back to the source and find out what it is. So many young people here need that help.
No, I like what you said, because I think a lot of us, we deal with problems at surface level instead of going back to the source and understanding what is the problem of this and, what is the result of this, Again, you said about friends and, actually checking on your friends. And I'm actually meant to do one of the podcasts with one of my longest friends just to try and understand friendship and how to, share my lessons out of friendship between what I think me and him we've been through friendship, But yeah, you've also talked a lot about family. So how do you think, as Nimo, your family and your upbringing has led to the amazing person that is seated here today?
I think my family and my upbringing has made me the person. I'm a product of my family and my upbringing. We are such family people.
Yes.
I'm sure you've seen me and my siblings.
Yes.
We love each other so much. And I thank my dad for that, for bringing us together. And he always said family is important. He always said, it's me and you guys against the world. It's you guys together against the world. Like nobody should come in between you guys. And thank God we have that solid friendship and that solid brotherhood and sisterhood. I think I was privileged enough to have siblings I can fall back on, parents that I can fall back on, and are always there to fully support with open arms. I think family is key. My friends, I have a friend or two, but my siblings are my friends.
Yeah.
My siblings are the people I talk to whenever I'm down. I talk to whenever I'm happy. I ask for advice. My siblings are the people. My siblings are my people.
Yes.
They've made me who I am. I think family is very important. If it even says in my religion, kinship, very important.
Yes.
My parents have always been. I'm a person of act of service.
Yes.
And I got that from my parents.
Yeah.
My mom loves to give back to the community. My dad solely lives to give back to the community. So I grew up from a younger age knowing that. My dad took in all his siblings,
Yes.
plus their kids, plus his kids, took them all to school. You know, he's a society person. He has uplifted everybody around him. So I think I got it from there because my passion is to uplift and empower the people around me, especially the young folks.
Yes.
And the act of service makes me happy. It fulfills me. And I got that from my family.
No, I can see even when you say it brings such a smile on your face, you know.
It does.
So do you think that is what has influenced the projects you do today?
100%.
Yes?
100%. If I did not learn, if I didn't grow up seeing what my parents have done and what they're still doing right now.
Yes.
My father used to take about 600 students to uni
Yeah.
on scholarships, and he has taken a lot, thousands of people. He loves education, focuses on education. I did my first degree, then I did a private pilot license, and then he forced me, I wouldn't say forced, pushed me to do a master's by the age of 23.
Wow.
At 24, I'd finished my master's.
Wow.
And he tried to get me to do my PhD. But then we went back and forth about it, and I was like, no. Now he's trying to get me. He tried to get me to do law.
Yeah.
I've gotten out of that. Now he's trying to get me to do a second degree.
Yeah.
I agree with him. I should go back to school and study. He is very, very keen on education. However, he gave back to the society in what he loves the most. Took a lot of people to school. Yes. A lot. Like, I see so many people on the streets and they know me being my dad's daughter. And that's the one thing they talk about. Your father took me to school.
Yeah.
I've met people who are in powerful positions in organizations and companies. And that's what they've told me when I meet them. It's because of your father I'm here. He took me to school. Yeah. And when I see those people's lives have been changed and impacted by my dad, I feel like I could do the same. Not to his magnitude, maybe in the future. Yes. But I feel like I could do the same. So growing up, seeing him do that, and my mom as well, she is similar, always giving back to the community. So all my siblings and I have grown up we started with ourselves. Yes. As kids. We're always there for each other, trying to motivate each other, trying to empower each other, trying to make ourselves better. And I extend it to the people around me. Like my friends, I'm always talking about a certain book, or I'm always talking about how you can improve yourself and what you can do to better yourself. And I thought I could cultivate it and put it into the young people that I'm seeing. Because whenever something bothers me, I like to fix it. Yes. Not that I'm a perfectionist, but whenever something bothers me, I like to fix it. When it's in my control, I try and perfect it. But when it's not in my control, it icks me. It's a bit difficult. Yeah. So I'm hoping to impact as many kids as I can. Yeah. Hopefully those who are willing to be helped. I mean, you can't be helped unless you want to be helped. And my act of service is hopefully going to give a lot.
How's it that you've chosen such a we mentality when these days a lot of people are like, I, me?
I don't know. I think I is selfish. First of all, I'd say it's a bit narcissistic. Yeah. And I'm not going to lie, I cannot make myself happy. Yeah. You can make me happy. Yeah. If I want to make myself happy, I need you to make me happy. Yes. So helping my siblings or having my siblings around me makes me happy. But if I constantly move around, and you cannot get anywhere by yourself. Yeah. That is not true. I feel bad for those who don't have the support and siblings and stuff like that. But try and get good friends who can be around you. Nobody has made it by themselves. You always have to have someone around you. You always have to have someone supporting you, uplifting you. You'll always have dark moments. You'll always have sad moments. And you can't uplift yourself at that time.
Yes.
Because you're sulking in your sadness.
Yeah.
But you need somebody who believes in you to tell you that you can do it. And that's how you get out of it. So the we, again, comes back from my dad and my mom.
Yeah.
My dad, like I said, took in all his siblings.
Yeah.
When his father was alive.
Yeah.
His father could have done it. But he took in all his siblings and made it a we thing. He made everything a we thing. It's not about him, honestly. He is very selfless. And I think I got that from him. Act of service, again, makes me happy.
Yeah.
So it's a we thing. If I want the society to be better, it's we. I cannot do it by myself. I'm not going to make the society better by myself. When I started this program, I started it with my younger sister. She's studying law in the UK. And she is young. So she's about 23. So, and I am way older than her. I'm almost getting out of the youth bracket. So I have learned a lot from her at that age. I have learned so much from her. She's so smart, mashallah. She's so brilliant. And she helps me view these young people in her eyes because they're almost the same age.
Yes.
You understand?
Yes.
And that's how I managed to be successful with my events. She's always there telling me the things that I don't see.
Yeah.
Because I might come out as an older person, and sometimes I might come out as, why don't you understand this? Like, why can't you do this?
Yes.
Like, what is it? Like, it's not that hard. It's not that deep.
Yeah.
But she'll try and make me understand from their point of view. So I have to be gentle and be patient with them, because youth of nowadays are not the same as us, our generation.
Yeah, so you've mentioned your events. So tell us about your program and the events you've been fortunate to have. Yeah.
Okay, so I started this intellectual empowerment movement.
Yes.
And it's based on youth empowerment mentorship program. Like I said, I saw a problem and I thought, let me fix it.
Yes.
So I've had 2 events so far. Okay. My first event, I talked to you about it. Yes. And you even helped me with my speech. Yes. I remember. And my first event, I wanted to see, I wasn't so sure if it was going to work. Yes. It was a pilot. Yes. I wanted to see, because this is charity, yeah? And I'm doing it out of my own pocket. Yeah. And I wanted to see how I can impact these young people by bringing them together and bringing mentors as well. So for the people that I was targeting, those who don't have the resources, don't have the platform, but are ambitious and hungry and looking for a way out. So what I'm planning, the program, this is the aim for the program, yeah. Yes. I'm planning for the future to have an institution where I could have kids in uni, out of school, or fresh graduates who do not know what their purpose is and don't know what to do next. Yeah. I'm looking to make them figure themselves out first. It's all about self-awareness. Yes. So first, self-awareness, figure yourself out, know what you want, discipline, be that good person in the society. And then once you've figured out your purpose or what field you want to be in or what career you want to take up, then I'll partner you with a mentor, someone with a good head on their shoulders, who is, let's say you want to do law and you're still in uni. Come to me. I'll get you a very good lawyer who's going to be your mentor. And that person is going to be accountable for you. And they teach you ways of how to live life. Discipline, as simple as how to talk to people. And everything else that you need to learn about this life. Motivate them, be there for them. Because these are people who don't have someone who's pushing them. So all they need is just that little push and that guidance. Yes. And that's my plan. So I started off with the events first. And my first event was a mixed event. Yes. And we had a few speakers. Was Joji. I was one of the speakers as well. Yeah. And a guy called Raphael, very good guy. And I learned from that event that these guys were engaging. Yeah. Firstly, I don't want to make it boring or like a motivational thing or the norm that has not worked for so many people. Everyone can go and listen to motivational talks. Yeah. But how are you going to act on it is what now I'm trying to do. So when I saw how people were engaging and they wanted more and wanted more, and their feedback was just amazing.
Yeah.
Someone told me, Nimo, this is all I needed to hear.
Yeah.
And right now I'm going back home, and my take home is 5 things. And she told me A, B, C, D, and they were all from the speech.
Wow.
Even just that one person
Yes.
giving me that feedback,
Was good enough.
good enough. So I decided to do a second one. The second one was only ladies, because I realized a lot of the young girls, there's so many things they're shy to say around the boys.
Yes.
Same thing with the boys. I told you this, yeah?
Yes.
Same thing with the boys. They won't be able to ask certain questions around the girls, and they're shy. So I decided to split them. This last event was only girls. And we talked about certain topics that are key. So for now, I'm starting off with the awareness, discipline, how to be better people, how to find yourself. Then slowly going into certain things like how to handle your finances, your budget, entrepreneurship. My next event is on entrepreneurship. I want to bring in young SME owners, young small business, small and medium entrepreneurs owners, bring them together, and then have brilliant speakers come and tell them on how to upscale, on what to do. So it's an entrepreneurship series, and I'm going to pick young people. You know how a lot of the young people have started their businesses on Instagram, social media. They're online. They don't have shops and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I want to bring all those people together and teach them on how to get better. So my job is not just to teach you how to be disciplined.
Yeah.
My goal is to teach you everything all-rounded. Business, be it. So the next one will be on professions, going on and on and on. So I'll be having a series of events, and hopefully I'll be able to impact a few people from each.
I think that's amazing. I think, like you said, even for me, when I look at the podcast, there's always those 1, 2, 3 people that write back saying, this one really spoke to me. I think this point, this point, this point. And you're like, how did the guy even pick that up? Because when I was having that conversation, I can't really fully remember that whole thing, so it's important. And I think people are in search for knowledge, for quality experience. I also feel like I'm so happy that this thing for podcasts came up, because when I was growing up, I never felt like those, or maybe I never knew about such conversations, And this day, you can hear from anyone or everyone, depending on who you want to listen to, from whoever you admire or from whoever you want to learn about, But I think honestly, it's been an amazing conversation. And, as we come to the end of the conversation, I just wanted to ask you, is there anything you think I should have asked you that I didn't get the chance to ask you?
Firstly, I just want to say how this is amazing. What you're doing is amazing. Having the podcast and bringing on people who are going to be of benefit to the people who are watching the podcast. You're doing a good job. You are empowering, teaching, and inspiring young people. I love that about it. As for the questions, I think we've had a very amazing conversation.
Yes.
If I want to add on anything, I think young people need to... I keep saying young people as though I'm older.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
No, I think young people need to pull up their socks.
Yes.
Because the next generation is looking bad if this generation does not fix it. Gen Z is now having Gen Alpha.
Yeah.
And Gen Alpha is going to be looking up to Gen Z.
Yeah.
It's going to be a tough time. I think us millennials had the best time, because we have best of both worlds.
Yes.
Yeah, we are mature, and we also have seen this new social media life. I think everybody should stop being fascinated or infatuated by what they see on the socials. I think that's one thing that all young people need to understand. Don't look at... Everybody has their own journey.
Yes.
Don't look at someone on Instagram and think, oh my God, why not me? And why? No, everybody has their own journey. Find your purpose. Find what you know how to do best and what you love how to do. And do it to your best of knowledge. Don't compare yourself to anybody else.
Yeah,
that's one thing I'd say, yeah.
Comparison is the thief of joy. I think that's 100%, what they say.
Yeah.
I don't know if you had a question that you wanted to ask me.
Well, what inspired you to do the podcast?
That's interesting. I think a lot of events happened for me to be here seated today and to do this podcast. Losing my friend was one. Almost losing myself was another. But there's a time I went to Mount Kenya for like 3 months, and I wasn't. There was no drinking, there was no nicotine, there was no bad behaviors, the things that whatever. And I just started sitting down on my laptop and started writing down different chapters of a podcast or different stories that I wanted to share. And then I put it all together. But the one thing that now actually made me say, okay, now is enough, is there's a day I met this young man in Alchemist, and he came to me and he's like, bro, can I have a talk with you? And I'm like, chill, let me get a drink and then we can speak. So I got my drink and then we sat down and he spoke and he's like, bro, let me tell you something. Bro, I wish I could be you. And I'm like, what? At that time, I didn't even want to be me because I'd even changed the title of, instead of having Tupac Keith on my Instagram and my Snapchat, I had Sad Nigga Chronicles.
Wow.
That was, so it was really a bad time. So I was like, am I selling a facade of a good life to people? And it also made me realize the influence and the impact that we could have on people. And I was like, I don't want to have a negative or a fake influence on people or this, facade. You get what I'm saying? Yeah. So that's when I said, you know what? I'm going to do that. And I think a few days after that experience or a few weeks after that experience, I sat on my laptop and recorded the first episode of the Just to Kick It Is a Blessing podcast. Had no equipment, had nothing. Earphones, laptop, recorded and published it. And I think it's still available until today. So if anyone that's listened to this, they can go listen to it. The first one, and
I'd
I
like
think
to listen to it.
Yeah, I think it's called "Stop Looking Up to People for the Wrong Reasons" or something. Yeah, and
that's powerful.
Yes. So it made me realize my influence, and I was like, I have stories that could change people, or that could inspire people, that could motivate people. And because I'm a very relatable person, or a lot of people seem to know me or whatever, I like, if I could share them, maybe I could change one more person's life or save one more person's life.
100%.
I get a lot of messages from people that I don't even know saying, thank you for this episode. It really did something
Isn't that
to
fulfilling?
me. Yeah, it is fulfilling. And, that's when you say that you're more than that person, and I think all of us have the power to change someone else's life. And that's why our stories are unique. And that's why I try and convince as many people as possible to come tell their stories. The other day I met a young gentleman in the club, and he has such an amazing story. But he said, that one I can never say, Tupac, you're mad. And we've argued for like a whole hour in the club, like me trying to convince him. I'm telling him, bro, like, let's even just shoot a fake one.
Yeah.
If you don't like it, we don't have to publish it. Me and you can just store it and you can have your copy. He said, never.
It might relate to a lot of people.
It does. It does. We all have unique journeys because there's something that someone else out there can learn from us.
True, 100%. And from what you said, I've gathered that it's good to spend some time with yourself.
It is. And I think that is one thing that a lot of us run away from.
Yep.
In fact, there's a study that was done the other day, and men were asked, would you rather be shocked for a minute or spend like 5 minutes in your head? Shocked. And like 80% chose physical pain instead of that, that pain. But yes, and I think as we come to the end, I also want to tell people is you have to learn to be a friend to yourself. And that's one thing that I've learned over the years is before you're a friend to someone else, Tupac, be your own friend. Because I think also a lot of young men struggle from that,
100%. Don't be so hard on yourself.
Yes. Thank you so much for gracing this
Thank
podcast.
You too,
I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Yes. For those of you listening from home, thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of the Just to Kick It Is a Blessing podcast. We really, really appreciate you. Remember, no matter where you are or no matter what you're going through, just to kick it is a blessing. Goodbye and see you next week.